What's up, my movers and shakers? I'm Dave. This is MS Paints. This is Benji. And this is Michael Chumpchange. And today... Hi! And today we are talking about why does Games Workshop hate the Lord of the Rings, mate? Benji, go.
Your time starts now.
Yeah. So this is Benji's Hobbies, everyone. This is Benji's Hobbies. You are a user request. That sounds very serious, like a class.
And the user requested you.
Yes. Yeah. There's a few people on the Patreon that ask you to come on. There's a few people in the comments. They also asked for a lot of people in America.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
You guys got massive budgets to get those people in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. With this whole thing, actually, you can flat pack it, put it on a plane, just fuck
off over there.
Easy.
Who would you want to appear on the next chat show? Oh, you know that flag they put on the moon in the 60s? Yeah. Bring the flag.
Cool. I want to see about the pigment changes, because as we all know, there is a science to pigment.
There is a science to pigment. Excellent. In-jokes are starting already. Episode 2, yeah. So, Benji's Hobbies is here with us. His real name is Benji, not Benji's Hobbies. Yeah.
That's my surname.
Hobbies is his surname.
Yeah.
Sobbies.
Benji Sobbies.
Benji Sobbies.
That's what it has been mostly recently. But yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good content. What have you been doing with yourself lately?
What have I been doing with myself lately? Well, I'm currently... I'm going to describe it as between jobs rather than unemployed. But I've got a new job to go to, so it's not all doom and gloom.
Yep.
And it was after quite a long time of being with a company, and so it's not a bad position to be in, shall we say? So looking forward to starting a new job. But in the meantime, I have been filming a lot of stuff. So I've been I would say on a hiatus, but over the last year or so, I've been a bit slow on the old content front. I had a little boy. Then he kind of took up all my spare time and kind of all my...
See, that's a good excuse. You should lead with that.
Yeah, no. Right, really kind of stupidly, before he arrived, I thought, I'm going to have loads of time. Like, once he goes to bed, I'll have time. But the thing is, by the time he goes to bed, I'm absolutely, knackered. And I'm like, there's always that thought, and kind of, I get to about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he's like, I'm going to go film some stuff tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some stuff done. Yeah. And it gets that sort of 8, 9 o'clock, and you're like,
Well, you've been up since 4 a.m.
Yeah, well,
right?
That's the thing. Yesterday morning we were up at 4.
Yeah.
So that was really, really, really hard work, and you just kind of lose, you kind of lose momentum and things with it as well. And then kind of a couple of weeks turns into a few months and things, and then so I'm filming a lot of stuff now with the aim of being able to kind of edit it gradually then over the next kind of few months and things. So when I'm back at work, I'll be able to kind of keep putting out content and things.
Nice.
Whilst I've got this time, it's easy just to get stuff filmed and done, and then bank it for the future, and then I can just edit it gradually.
It's not necessarily a very baby-friendly hobby, is it?
No.
You're like, here's these tiny swallowable things, and you kind of need both hands and perfect silence.
Exactly. But do it. Thankfully, I've got the garage that I can kind of lock myself in. But it's like when I help you, I'm sure you'll probably say when you sit down, you want to just sit down and do stuff for 2-3 hours at a time, and I just don't get those kind of pockets of that much time. I might get sort of 20 minutes, 25 minutes, half an hour here and there sort of thing, but you just don't get enough filmed in that amount of time, do you? So so at the moment I'm just kind of banking that content. In a few months' time I'll start kind of rolling it out again, and just trying to sort of get stuff that I've kind of promised people and things out there as well.
Or anything that you've filmed or that you've got planned that you're excited about that people might be able to look forward to?
Oh, loads of stuff. So there's I've got a Balrog, the new one, and I've carved out. Did you see Michael from that one videos? He did that massive diorama of
fucking disgustingly good.
It's so good, isn't it?
He's such a twat. He's so good.
he is good. He's so he made that big tower with Gandalf light up with the light up sword, and the Balrog was all lit up and everything. So basically I wanted to turn rather than make the whole thing, I just wanted to make the Balrog into a gaming piece, so I can actually use it on the tabletop and things. So I've done basically what he did, but on a much, much smaller scale, and the batteries and everything fit into the base. I didn't make it. I had a lot of help with how to do that. But that's the one video that I think I'm most excited about, because it looks fucking cool.
Yeah.
That sounds epic.
So there's that. I batch painted 60 orcs, like the Lord of the Rings orcs.
Yeah.
I won't say I'm excited. I'm excited about it personally because for years I've wanted to play that armies that include those orcs, but the orcs are fucking awful to paint. Like they're just the old like plastic ones.
Is that like the Moria orcs?
No, the Mordor orcs. So they're
but not Uruk-hai.
Not Uruk-hai, no.
Because they're great with their big juicy thighs.
They're cool, yeah. They've got like meaty thighs. They've not been skipping leg day.
Yeah. Like Snake.
Exactly, just like him.
Like Snake.
The meatiest thighs in the game.
In the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So yeah, I batch painted like a whole load of them, like I think 60 odd. And because they're so horrible to paint, I was just like, Joe, I just need to knuckle down and just get them painted. Like, because if I don't do it all in one go, like I'm never going to get that many painted. Yeah. I finished off a Numenor army, so that video will be going out fairly soon. So I went to a doubles tournament with Ollie from Broadsword it was last September, I think. So we started like that, and I never really got round to finishing the army. So like a couple of weeks ago, I finished that, and yeah, just finishing touches on editing that video now. So that'll be out soon. So it's a bit of like a tournament vlog and kind of a project finishing sort of vlog. It's a bit of everything.
So what I'm hearing is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. That's kind of my focus at the moment. No, you don't say.
On this table.
It's interesting. You mentioned doubles. I was reading some wikis about this game when it first came out last night. Absolutely doing my research at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And it says it's kind of the doubles thing really started with this game because when you scale it up, and you use twice as much stuff as you're supposed to in the regular. But this was before War of the Ring.
Yeah.
Doubles was the way to do it because then you could split the thought process between two people.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ultimately, it's meant to be a skirmish game, like maybe 15 to 18 figures a side.
Yeah, so but you can go up, depending on the army. So, like, if you're playing the Fellowship, then it's obviously maximum of 9.
Yes.
You can play even sort of smaller armies than that. So there's like Vanquishers of the Necromancer. So it's like Elrond, Galadriel, Gandalf. If you watch the Hobbit films, not many people.
I think everybody saw them and didn't like them.
Yeah, I think that was it.
But it wasn't that nobody saw them, just nobody saw them twice.
But yeah, there's that. The Rings of Power come out now, so they're actually looking good compared to that.
This is one of those. It's like when the new Star Wars came out, and suddenly Jar Jar Binks just seemed so.
Yeah, they were amazing all of a sudden.
I'd like to officially sound the alarm because I'm already confused.
Yes. Okay.
So we're talking about this game.
Yes.
The Lord of the Rings strategy battle game.
Yes.
Which is a Games Workshop game.
Yes.
So it's like a similar mechanics to a standard game of Warhammer, or?
Well, it's a tabletop game. So you roll dice, you move little figures and things. Obviously, it's based on the Lord of the Rings intellectual property and things, which, you go back to your point, I think that's kind of part of the reason that it gets, we think that Games Workshop kind of hates the game.
Yes.
We'll talk about it a little bit more. I don't necessarily think they do. I think they are kind of having a struggle a little bit, probably by the licensees, should we say. But yeah, it's kind of, I think it's their only licensed property now, I think.
It is now. Historically, like, Games Workshop was initially an importer and supplier of RPG stuff from the States, so it was a shop.
Okay.
Then they started making their own stuff, but not necessarily of their own franchises, like those games up there. Like The Mummy's Tomb, that's The Mummy. Dark Future, that's a Mad Max ripoff. These are bad examples. What I'm looking for is The Fury of Dracula. And they also have a Judge Dredd game from 1985.
So they were more about creating tabletop games out of existing properties rather than having their own property.
They were a Games Workshop.
Yeah.
A workshop for games.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. A workshop for games for the people, mate.
For the people. By the people, for the people.
For the players, mate. So this is quite an interesting move for them in 2001 because they've kind of just shed the shackles of having that stuff in the 80s.
Sure.
And I think this comes along and they're like, this is some fucking cash money right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship followed the Phantom Menace rule of, does it exist? Slap Legolas on it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And this is, I think, and I don't think I'm going to get many arguments about it, this is the best Lord of the Rings tie-in ever made in terms of its quality and its caliber. I see a
Are you
lot
talking across all mediums?
I think so, in terms of tie-in stuff.
So better than the PS2 games.
Oh, that's
Better than Battle of Middle-earth 2.
Yeah.
The PC game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're better than...
I'm expecting that you will catch some flack for that.
although
Maybe not with this audience.
I would challenge anyone to play those games now, and I know everyone's going to say, well, of course it's dated. It's not dated, they're fucking crap. It was all you had at the time.
It was very good, mate.
Is that the strategy one?
Yeah.
Okay, that one's fine. Okay. As is what's the JRPG where you kick Sauron's eye at the end? Like, genuinely,
wow.
out of fucking nowhere, like 2006, there is a PS2 game, which is a Japanese RPG style game.
Wow.
Where you just have a turn-based combat with Sauron's eye at the end. Yeah. And there's a guy who fights with his fist and you can punch Sauron in the eye.
We'll put a picture of what it is somewhere so that people can look it up.
Yeah. 2001, they took this on and basically kept the company alive, more than I'll admit. And the company, the way it is now, wouldn't have been able to be what it is now without this.
Yeah.
So the large-scale plastic manufacturing, the designers, the infrastructure, just the size of the company, probably the company may not even exist without this.
Because they just got a big cash injection.
Fucking huge cash injection. I think this took over everything else.
So there's a while ago in one of the White Dwarf magazines, there was a little sort of fact that at one stage the Fighting Urukai box set, some plastic box set with 20 dudes in it, was outselling
the Space Marine Tactical Squad.
Yeah,
Tactical Squad.
Which is like you know they were the poster boys of Games Workshop, really, weren't they?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you know it's amazing to think that this now was kind of outselling that at the time. Like now, obviously, it's I can't even imagine what it can't be much of their takings comes from Middle Earth anymore. But at the time that was huge, and then the battle games in Middle Earth magazines came along.
Weekly magazine. See, they learned that from back then, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They do that now all the time. But
they've done Conquest and Imperium.
Dank Imperium,
whatever.
Mortal Realms.
Whatever they call it. But that kind of that was I guess the framework for what they're doing now.
Yeah.
And you know what? I started it when one of my mates got this, and like he'd been painting it and stuff. Like, do you want a game of this? I was like, what did?
Yeah.
What is this?
No, I mean,
what's this amazing stuff? And then but he kept it sort of secret from the friend group sort of thing, and we were all like, and then he brought it out, and then one day he was like, "Do you want a game of this?" And we're like, yeah. we want to play Lord of the Rings.
Was it just painting all of the models and everything before anyone could see it?
I don't even think it was that. I think he was just a bit embarrassed and things about it. But then as soon as this came out, we were all absolutely hooked. And I remember there wasn't a game shop in our local town, so we'd catch the bus over to the next town over, go to the only little game shop, and it was a really dark, dingy, little shop.
Was it?
Funny that. And it wasn't a proper one.
Smelled slightly of piss.
You may have done, but and you'd go rifling through all the because all the blisters look the same. They didn't have the picture on the front of what was on them, and I've just got such amazing memories of doing that, because at the time as well, when this came out, we had the internet, but it wasn't kind of the same as it was now. You wouldn't go googling what middles are in Middle Earth range sort of thing. You'd just go there and be like, I've not seen that before.
Reddit existed, but it wasn't full.
Yeah, exactly.
You wait a week for a post.
You
ask on Yahoo Answers, and you have to wait for somebody to get back to you.
But that was it back in the day. But you'd go and you'd see models that you hadn't seen before, and there was just this. I would love it to be like that now, but obviously the internet just kind of ruins everything, doesn't it? Everything gets kind of spoiled for you before you've even seen it yourself. But that was just I've just got such amazing memories of that, and I've just been kind of in love with it ever since. Really,
he's hefty.
These
metal.
Metal. That's the fucking metal. Last time we were on here, and I was talking about the legitimacy of metal miniatures with Lord of the Rings in the first phase. Well, probably for the first 10-15 years, all of your characters were metal. Which is where that legitimacy comes from. 20 Uruk high, sure, plastic, no problem. If I want some characters, if I want 18 different versions of Lurtz, or I want Saruman, it's got to be metal.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
perfect sense to me that they would be different in that way.
Yes.
I think, well, you're buying 3 or 4 packs of Urukai to each character sort of thing. So obviously it comes with the
it's an economics issue.
The volume issue sort of thing. So now they kind of make they're kind of coming away from metal to some extent, and like a lot of it has been kind of resin, and now they're not making any kind of new Games Workshop resin. They're making them in kind of Forge World resin. So obviously they're a little bit more expensive, but the quality has just been, I'd say, over the last since 2016, I think they've kind of relaunched Middle-earth to some extent. The quality of the
better or worse?
To be better. So much better. Yeah.
When we went to Warhammer World, which we've done a couple of times,
Yes, we have. Sorry.
they often have like big displays of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
there. And it seems to me now to be the more premium stuff.
Yeah.
It's more expensive. It's marked up versus the Games Workshop stuff, if I remember correctly.
I think.
The Forge World stuff will be.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just looking at the higher quality versions.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, you guys will probably know to some extent, like, obviously if you're paying an intellectual property, like, you're
absolutely.
I can't imagine how much it is with this, but yeah, I think there would be to some extent some sort of.
I think it's quite favourable because when they relaunched, there's a couple of boxes in up there. The battle hosts where it was like a get started force. They were very reasonably well priced.
Yes,
compared to everything else. Like a box of shit I can play for 50 quid.
Yeah. Like it's not. It isn't bad, and like even the starter sets have been like. It's not necessarily a match play legal army. Like in the battle host, I can see the Mordor battle host there. Well, like it's not necessarily a full army out of the box. I need to add a couple of bits in, but like literally, you've got most of an army there, like in one box.
Yeah.
And to make it sort of more competitive and things, you can add extras. But do you know what? You can play a game with everything. For me, the best thing about this game is like the rule set has barely changed for like 20 years.
I was just about to ask, could you explain to Michael what is different about this compared to the cluttered pile of dog shit that is like current 40k and why it doesn't need to change?
So I've not got a huge amount of playing experience of like 40k or anything like this. This I've got a lot more, but everybody acts independently, so it's like a skirmish game. So everybody, this guy go over here, he can go back here, you can go over there. Whereas in 40k you have to keep everybody together. Units. Like units and things like that. This is kind of alternating activation, so I'll move, then they move, then I'll shoot, then they shoot, and so you've got like you're not waiting for them to do everything and then going like, well, half my army's now gone. Now I get to respond to that. You kind of are able to respond in real time. So if they've moved a little bit close to you, you're like, oh, I'm in their bow range now. I'm going to move back out of that so that they can't shoot me this turn.
The game I have the most experience with is Legion.
Yeah,
so
it sounds more Legion-y.
It's much more Legion-y. I think this one is kind of the initial mold breaker of. Okay, I didn't win the roll-off to start playing. I will eat a sandwich and watch him destroy me for half an hour, and then I'll have my turn. So this one is way more engaging, I think, because it's aimed at a younger audience.
Could be.
Well, also just a more casual audience, right? Because if I walked into a Games Workshop in the mid-2000s and I was like looking to buy models to get into something, and I've got this franchise that I know and understand, and that also for me, you can see it 100%. You think about the big battles in Lord of the Rings. You're like, how sick would it be to have all of those models on the table and do the battle of whatever
Pelennor Fields or whatever.
Yeah. Like to act that out and to have the characters. So it's like you can see how that would get more layman people off the street who had never played a tabletop.
Absolutely. Because I remember, like, as a kid walking into a Games Workshop, and this was kind of before Lord of the Rings came out, and like I was like bit afraid of the people and like looking at some of like I was obviously quite young, like looking at some of the like the models things, I was a bit like, that's a bit creepy, that's a bit weird looking. Whereas this was kind of like normalized war game to some extent.
Yeah. It's wholesome,
and I think it still I think it still does, like you can see yourself almost in some, or you like to see yourself in like the characters, and whereas like a power armored space monk, like it's a little bit more difficult to kind of
you can explain to me. You could get me invested in the narrative of a scenario that you came up with. Much easier in this kind of a scenario than in like a 40k. Like, because if you were trying to explain to me why Space Marines were doing something, you'd first have to explain to me why they ever want to do anything.
It just goes back to like,
I'm out.
Like, at the beginning there was the Emperor, and like it kind of goes from there. Do you know what I mean? It was.
I've been after our first episode, I posted a load of individual clips up on my vertical, made little clips out and posted them up. And I found a lot of things that we got wrong by doing that. Thank you very much if you were involved in that. But yeah, so I now know quite a lot about the way that the Emperor started off and the gene seed. There was a lot of debate about whether they were clones or if they were people and they were adopted and then they were changed with this gene seed. I put out our most successful clip about how they have their wangers cut off, which we should clarify they in fact don't, apparently.
I was speaking metaphorically.
Yes, they chemically have their wangers it seems. But yeah, and then also I got some full diatribes in the comments about certain things. So I'm getting there. But this is much more straightforward.
Based on those comments, do you now understand why I said that line? I could be more specific.
Yeah.
But no matter how right I am, I'm going to be wrong.
My favourite...
Because there's people debating shit that's fucking written down.
100%.
Yeah.
My favourite comment, actually, on that video was you saying that. You said, no matter what I say, I'm going to get it wrong, so I won't bother. And then you proceeded to bother. You did, in fact, bother. He's like, I'm going to get this wrong, so I won't bother, but here's what I think.
Yeah. That does sound like something I would do.
Brilliant. Yeah. But yeah, no, so I think that... I mean... Just conceptually, even if you were trying to introduce a world, weirdly, even though Lord of the Rings is a relatively complicated world, you can get the cliff notes across of why you should care about a mission of one of these guys, an objective, easier than you can, I think, in standard 40k.
What I love about like the films is they kind of made it very grounded. Like it is very grounded fantasy.
It's a human story.
So it's not kind of like really high fantasy where you need to kind of like know the background to everything. But like bit like when you come into 40k, as you say, just got no idea what the fuck's going on really. It's just everyone's fighting everyone. It's all horrible.
And I don't think you need to know.
No,
exactly. I bet a lot of people don't know.
It's just roll dice and
but I think in order to get someone engaged in the physical game that you're playing, like when you're actually sat at a table and you have an objective, if that's something that you can actually wrap your head around and want to achieve for more reasons than just to win, then I think that's probably better.
Yeah, definitely. So just going back to like why I said this is different, like which is like
sorry, did we derail?
We derailed a little bit. It was originally when this box came out, it was very much kind of more narrative like focus. So your idea was to kind of play narrative like.
You'd play in a film, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Film. Whereas now, that you can do that, and a lot of the supplements do kind of focus on the kind of campaign and things through it. But also, there's a huge kind of like tournament kind of scene now as well. Like absolutely like
around this game, specifically.
It's become like absolutely massive over the last, and it seems like it's still kind of growing, especially since like 2018 when they did the I guess the latest edition of the rules. For now. It just absolutely exploded from then, and there's just like literally tournaments like every weekend you could find a tournament to go to pretty much, which is such a great place for it to be, because I think it keeps people buying models, people want to try out new armies and things like that. Whereas I think sometimes there's only so much narrative that you can play. So whereas match play, playing all sorts against all sorts, it's great.
Are they trying to jump on the Rings of Power?
No,
not at all.
They did bring out Battle of Osgiliath in time for Rings of Power, but didn't tie into it. They just they brought out a new Elrond model, which is lovely and deliciously reserved considering their current style. We'll talk about the upcoming Lord of the Rings miniatures in a minute, which are like got any ideas, Games Workshop? Barbarian naked loincloth muscles. Anything else? No.
I kind of the Bed of Carndom you're talking about, I think, isn't it? They are a bit out there. They look like more like a Warcry warband than
and a Shadespire warband.
Shadespire warband. But like a lot of the stuff is still sort of fairly grounded, and I think they've kind of tried to keep it within the same sort of aesthetic, really, rather than taking it kind of too...
When I looked at the model, the first thing I pictured in my head was a 3D sculptor at the Games Workshop studio, like trying to do a Lord of the Rings mini, but doing what he'd been doing for 10 years, and just a vein fucking throbbing on his head.
We're trying to marry those two things together.
Just give it a cut. Barbarian with a cool shield. Yeah, that'll do it.
Heroic scale barbarian elf.
They feel like they want to be heroic scale.
Right.
That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
And I think...
Another thing I now understand.
You do understand.
Yeah.
Although we got...
bigger hands, big heads.
Big hands, big head, yeah.
We misunderstood the 28mm thing last time.
Yeah.
Explaining that.
Yeah.
One of the comments summed it up perfectly, which is, you said 28mm to a meter. No, my friend, it is infinitely worse to that.
It is much more complicated.
It's 28mm to about 5'7".
Yeah.
It's to about eye height.
Yeah, feet to eye height on an average human man,
Yes.
right? Is 28mm.
Yes.
So this box here and these minis, is this like an older release?
This is 2001.
This is the original release of this set.
The OG,
But they're basically still making the same set now.
So they've kind of updated the rules like for this, like every year, with every film that came out, they put a new box out and things updated the rules ever so slightly.
So we've got like the Return of the King book under there.
Yeah.
So within the space of 3 years, you've got 3 different editions of the rules, which are just...
That's a big book.
It's a chunky monkey, isn't it?
A lot of that is profiles for each character though. So like the rules themselves are actually sort of quite condensed.
Them good old boys, mate.
It looks so dated now, doesn't it? And it's like,
I don't know. That is the scene that you would get if you walked into any old...
Actually, if you walk in today, that fashion style's back. It will look like that.
yeah, definitely those haircuts.
Yeah,
It's very nice, though.
But the rules have stayed relatively unchanged. Like the core mechanics of like moving, shooting, fighting, magic has stayed exactly the same from day one.
Yeah.
And you cannot say that about any other Games Workshop game. Like they've changed like fundamentally. Like when, as I say, the new edition of the rules came out in 2018, they kind of refined a few bits. Like magic was probably a little bit overpowered. Monsters were a little bit overpowered. So they kind of toned them down a little bit, and it's been like just an absolutely amazing edition of the game. Yeah. To the point where they kind of wanted to not rebrand it, but in 2022 when Battle for Asclepius came out, they kind of, rather than making a whole new load of rules, they just refined and put all the FAQs into that book. So it's like you could still play with the old rules, but it had just been like FAQs just all written into one new book, basically.
Yeah.
And you think that these kind of refinements and this balancing that they've done has led to this big boom in the competitive scene?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, it's people say it's easy to learn but hard to master, which is very true. So actually,
what you want, I think.
Yeah. So you can sort of get you can throw down dice with pretty much anybody, and within sort of 10-15 minutes they will be able to play. I took Luke to a tournament where he literally he'd never played before, and he just turned up. He's like, right, what do I do? And like his opponent just like showed him how to play basically, and within the first game he was like, I know what to do now.
Again, quite Legion-y.
Which is like, I think that's a great.
I think it's absolutely the move for something like this.
Yeah,
like if you expect as Games Workshop to appeal to your hardcore fan base, then there has to be some level of that.
Yes,
and I think often it was quite easy to miss the mark, but they seem to be quite adept at. Like they know how to make it simple if they want to make it simple, right?
Yeah, they do,
but then the other end of the scale is so dramatically aggressive.
I was watching a video recently, which I'm a big angry video game nerd fan, and there was kind of a video picking apart what kind of a man he is and what kind of a person he is as a creator in 2024, because he's been going like 20 years. And he's basically outsourcing it all to a company. He turns a camera on, does his thing, fucks off, which is fine. But basically, someone was picking apart and doing a deep analysis on why there's a camera in his wides in the bottom corner that he's nailed to 2 bits of wood and then nailed to another bit of wood when tripods are like 10 quid.
Yeah.
And then this whole video basically is an hour and a half of deconstructing the human condition. And he basically said, he summed it up brilliantly, and he's going to say it way more eloquently than I ever will. But there comes a point where you have made so many rushed, tiny micro decisions that it gets to a point where the thought of unpicking it is so monstrously overwhelming you can't do it, so you just slap some more crap on top, and that feels like 40k. There's so much.
The idea of actually pulling it all apart, reconstructing it in a way that makes sense without losing.
Yes.
Because I'm sure that there are a lot of elements of that
Mm-hmm.
system which are like really good and exciting and add things, and they've clearly spent a lot of time balancing it to make it work. But they've balanced it, like you say, by just nailing small changes to it over the course of 40 years, rather than
small changes on top of small changes on top of small changes.
Yeah, some of them retcon. There's something comes out in 2001 that fixes something from 1983, and it all just kind of keeps going.
It just spirals, and then you need sort of $20 to sort of play a game. I know that's being kind of like facetious, but but you know, you do end up kind of, and it's one of the reasons that I don't play 40k or anything like that, because like there's just the constant churn, whereas this doesn't feel like it kind of gets that constant churn.
No, I suppose the lack of ability, I know they tried sometimes to invent new stuff, means that the pool of insanity doth not welleth over. You can't scale creep with Lord of the Rings because your hottest shit came out in 2001.
So every I'm not saying every hero has got to be relative to these guys that you kind of know, sort of thing. You know, I think they've made their own creations, which I think some of them really do fit in with the aesthetics. Some of them are a little bit of a miss, but I think because I've known them for so long and like been aware of them for so long, like now I'm just like, it's close enough. It feels like part of it. But I think somebody coming in would just be like, what the hell is that? So yeah, it's you know, I think it's just a nice game, really. Like it's a great game to play. I've played it since it came out. I had a bit of a hiatus kind of for about 10 years through like you know, uni and things.
When you discover drugs and women.
Yeah, pretty much. That's
I think everyone does that.
Exactly it, and then kind of mid to late 20s kind of come back to it, really.
So bringing it all the way back to the central point of this, right?
I was just about to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've reached that point now.
We love it, but why does Games Workshop hate it?
Yeah,
precisely. What is it about this that you think is turning Games Workshop off or making it difficult, or what are they doing?
So I think really cool thing about this is like the rules writers actually play. They regularly attend kind of tournaments. You know, they're kind of and they're very good players themselves. So they're not just sort of, and I'm sure 40k like real rules writers do as well. But like you know, they're kind of like a known quantity in the tournament scene. So
they talk to people that play it. They talk to people that play this.
Yeah,
Goodness
exactly.
Me.
Yeah, and so obviously they participate in like Facebook groups and things like that as well. And obviously they're kind of like they are reading people's feedback on things as well. So they are kind of ingrained in it. So ultimately, I have got the utmost respect for the rules writers. I think they have absolutely nailed it. They've done such an absolutely stellar job of the last kind of like edition of it. Like it's just the best position the game has been in for the longest time. I think, as I said at the beginning, I think IP kind of potentially holds stuff back as well, because it's been, I think it's about 2 years since we've actually had like the last like supplement released, which is just crazy to think that it's been
because normally they do
that long. You know, it was kind of maybe kind of 3 a year, something like that. It was originally, or 2 a year maybe, which, like again, you don't want that constant churn because obviously things get stale and you know, and you kind of get massive rules bloat and stuff like that. But it just felt like a very kind of slow 2 years since anything of real.
It's maybe because they're actually happy with where they are now, that they just don't want to mess with it.
I think as a company, I can't imagine them doing that. I'm sure there would be shareholders. I'm sure shareholders would be like, well, if this is making us money, why couldn't we need to churn it so people buy a new starter set? You know, kind of if a new starter set comes out every, I don't know, 3 years or something like they do in 40k or for AOS or whatever, then obviously it's kind of churning. And I'm guessing that maybe the question has now started being asked, because as I said, like when Battle for Asgiliath got released, like the changes were minimal. You know, it was just a new box full of plastic with some of the old models put into it and things like that. I think when which will come on to a bit, like the new edition comes out, which I'm going to guess is going to be probably around Christmas time. Right. Oh, the wallet. So I think I think there is, with the new edition that's coming up, I think that is potentially what has been hamstringing them for the last couple of years, potentially, knowing that it's going to be based on War of the Rohirrim, which is kind of and have you heard of?
It's a new animated book.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
So it's
Your face. Yeah, there's a new Lord of the Rings. It is an anime, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Japanese anime.
Right.
So basically, it's going to be Lord of the Rings Berserk.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool.
I'm good.
I'll
with
watch
that.
it.
Yeah.
Big swinging swords.
And it's going to be based on kind of like the history of Rohan. One of the heroes in it's going to be Helm Hammerhand, who's kind of like there's not like outside of Lord of the Rings. There's like loads of these little tales in Middle Earth. A lot of these little tiny stories and things that are written. And they're not particularly fleshed out, but this is one where
It's
kind of
perfect
got
for
like,
this, though.
yeah, exactly.
All you need is
like,
there was a battle. These people fought these people, and you've got a set.
exactly, yeah. So, and I think that's kind of where they've kind of gone with it. But obviously, Games Workshop have probably been involved, and I'm going to guess that they had a release schedule in place. COVID obviously happened, which then kind of it screwed that, and obviously they're going to put more time and investment into their core IPs and into their own IPs rather than in something that is relatively a niche game. And I think that kind of like hamstrung everything then a little bit, and then obviously over the last couple of years they've probably been working on what is to come, or potentially there's been kind of, I know there's been loads of is it the Embracer group that have now got the IP they own the merchandising rights for Lord of the Rings now, I think.
So everything but this they own, essentially.
I think I don't quote me on that, and so I'm sure somebody on the comments will say, well actually I own it. But it's I think it's a bit of like murky water and things. So I think that's probably what's held things back. Now they are doing one last supplement, which is being released next week. Actually, it might by the time this goes out.
Excellent.
So obviously it depends on when you decide to release this. It might be like
and by
2 weeks
supplement,
ago.
you mean...
So it's like an extra book. So it's got some extra characters in it. They do these things called Legendary Legions, where if you pick from a very select group of models, you get extra bonuses and stuff like that. It's really quite flavourful, really, for the game, and a load of scenarios in it. So they're releasing it next week, but they have said that as of the new edition, it is going to be obsolete. And they've been what the really lovely thing about it is, like they've with 40k they'll like release a book, and then like literally 2 months later there'll be like a new edition that comes out, and that book is like completely obsolete. And now they've
Do you remember when we were at Whaling Games and they showed us their to recycle pile?
Oh yeah, Christ! And it was just boxes and boxes of rules books, and they're like, can't sell these anymore because
It was an Imperial Guard Codex that had been out for like 6 weeks. That's done now, I guess.
So they have said in the community article, it's like, right, this isn't going to be. You aren't going to be able to use this long term, but for the completionists out there, if you want the whole collection, this is going to be for you. Like, you'll still have rules in it you'll be able to play until the next edition comes out, and things. But obviously, and what they're doing as well, which I think is really nice, is they're putting a PDF out of the rules for the new models and things, so people can actually use them.
Well, it is 2024.
But a free PDF, not a paid for PDF, free PDF. So this is just like, I don't think they hate this. I think they actually quite love it. And the people,
that is what confuses me. It's like it has the smallest user base, I would say, of their mainline games, and we do class this as a mainline game, despite what the website order says.
Specialists,
but it seems to have just the most love around it. I think like the unfiltered love. There's no toxicity.
It sounds like they've managed to not piss everyone off for like 20 years.
And I think it might just be giving away free PDFs now and again. Go on, keep buying.
Keep buying. Just, if we give you free PDF, you'll just buy all the models then, won't you? But I think, like, when I came back into it, like 2016, I think it was, the reason, like, I stayed playing, because I just wanted to paint a few models, get my, got all my models out the attic of my mum and dad's house, wanted to just paint a few, joined a couple of Facebook groups and things like that. And then, like, all of a sudden there was people like, oh, whereabouts do you live? I was like, I'm in Manchester. I'm trying to come play a game. And like somebody that I'm still really good friends with now, he's my training buddy at the gym as well and things. So we get on really well. I helped him run a tournament a couple of weeks ago. His name's James. He's just been an absolute kind of like been a bit of a legend in the community and things. So it's been kind of there's these people that have really kind of championed the game whilst it was kind of at its lowest, and then 2016 I think it was, they brought out like Dane and the pigs and the on his pig, the Goat Riders, the Iron Hells Dwarves, and then since then they've kind of been gradually kind of releasing stuff again. So at that kind of 2015, beginning of 2016, people thought the game was dead. Like, you know, they were just like, right, there's not going to be anything more now. That's pretty much it. Because obviously there's no new films or anything coming out after The Hobbit and things like that, so it was just like the game was kind of on its arms.
And then Rings of Power came out,
and then Rings of Power, so everyone was like, yeah, amazing. But yeah, Rings of Power, I don't know who's got the rights to that, but there's been like there's no merch, is there? Like,
well, no, because I think the issue with the Rings of Power is that it's all the stuff that the Tolkien estate doesn't have their mitts on that they're able to use, because it's like the hobbits in the Rings of Power are called halfets because they can't call them hobbits, even though they are definitely hobbits. And all of that kind of thing. So it's definitely a grey area.
And that's the thing, like, you know, everyone has a go about like Rings of Power and stuff like that, but like they're using what they physically can. Do you know what I mean? And
let's not.
Yeah, let's not go into Rings of Power.
I don't.
Really? You don't want to go into it?
No, I don't. But no,
you don't.
No. It's too much of a real argument.
Yes.
Rings of Power.
Well, set the ring and like we'll fight it out.
Problems
properly.
with the Rings of Power have nothing to do with the Rings of Power, is my official position.
That's entirely fair. That's vague, but I understand exactly what you mean.
So let's not go into it.
Precisely. But yeah, so it sounds to me like they were kind of losing faith in the game. Everybody kind of was, and then they picked it back up again.
Yeah.
But now we're saying the Games Workshop aren't a fan of it. So like, what makes you say, or what makes the headline?
So I put that shit in his mouth, to be fair.
I wouldn't say that they're not a fan of it. I think they're, you're reading between the lines. You know, and obviously I'm maybe picking up all sorts of wrong stuff here, but you know, I think, you know, obviously having intellectual property that you have to kind of work within their kind of time frames, work within their constraints and everything like that. That's always going to be kind of tough. And I think when you see other games getting release after release after release, like every week there's something else out new for 40k and things like that. And I think, you know, we tend to think that it doesn't get any love because of that. Now, as I said, because there's a new edition of the game coming out, I think I don't know how long they've been working on that. They may be working on it for the last 2 years. We just don't know. You know, I can't imagine that it's, you know, if they've announced it now, you know, I've worked in product development and stuff, like stuff doesn't just happen overnight.
No,
so I'm guessing that maybe kind of 18 months, 2 years ago, they said, right, we've got the rights to this. We need you to drop what you're doing now and just work on this. So if we're getting a new starter set, which we probably will, it means that we are going to probably be getting new plastics, which we get the odd, you know, Elrond we've had as a plastic. You know, new Theoden, Aemma, so the big characters we've had as plastic. But we've had
your Rivendell dice, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Some Rivendell dice.
Did you? Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I did.
Yeah. I had a trade account at the time. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, got to do it. Got to do it. I'm a proper nerd. I've got one of every set of dice that they've released for Middle-earth.
Have you got the old ones in the tins as well?
No, I haven't got them. Yeah. I haven't got them. Have you got them?
No, they're very expensive.
So, yeah, they're a little bit too expensive for me. But what were we talking about again?
I just Games Workshop hate Lord.
So I don't think they do. I think they're kind of constrained to some extent by other people. I think COVID hampered a lot of stuff. I think we'd have had a lot more kind of more regular releases if it hadn't been for COVID. I think it does take a bit of a backseat when it comes to their own intellectual property. I do think they favour that. So, you know, if there are big releases for that, Blood is just going to get pushed to the side. I think obviously Nottingham has got capacity issues. You know, they kind of admit it as much in their kind of annual reports and things. They're saying, you know, we're kind of at capacity. We can't make anything more, and I think it shows that a lot in the fact that so much stuff is out of stock all the time as well. You know, they physically can't manufacture or store enough stuff to. So I don't necessarily. I think it's probably not that they hate it. I think it's just lower down.
Just been neglected a little bit because there's a lot of hoops and such that they have to jump through, and why bother when they have all of these other things that they could be doing, which probably in this day and age make them more money as well.
Licensing.
They don't have to pay licensing.
I think, you know, this, I don't even know, but, you know, you look at kind of the size of some of the Facebook groups for 40k or some of the Facebook groups for, you know, Age of Sigmar, and they are, you know, the groups for Middle-earth are tiny in comparison. Do you know what I mean? So there's clearly a bigger player base for their own intellectual property. So that's why I would imagine that they are probably prioritising other games other than this. Obviously, it's a specialist game as well, so I'm sure that there is some sort of there is some sort of internal politics around it as well.
Well, yeah, I mean,
prioritize.
They used to have their own magazine for specialist games as well at one point.
yeah.
I think Rings of Power as well. There has to be some element of that and confusing it, because like maybe they wanted it, couldn't get it, thought about it a little bit, and then ended up not doing it. Maybe planned something that didn't come off. All of these things, like we'll never know.
We'll never know, and that's the thing. The people who do know will probably never tell, and they might do in 20 years time or something, but it'll be all kind of long gone and done by that point. They're probably tied by NDAs and all sorts, aren't they?
My dream of having Warrior Galadriel in armor will never come true. It's just a little 70-gram piece of rage bait, isn't it? Just Galadriel in armor.
Yeah. but I think we've talked about it before, but like 3D printing, like there's so many people out now that are making those models though, because but the thing is, nobody is there kind of getting them deleted and stuff, because the system, because actually nobody's making models for them anyway, so it's like not as though they're kind of taking from everybody's pocket. So there are some really cool like proxies out there and stuff that people have made, like some of the orc sculpts and things with like the animal skulls as helmets and stuff like that. They look incredible, so cool. But obviously, Games Workshop clearly don't have the rights, and I don't think they potentially ever will.
No, I don't think so.
But what my kind of hope is for the future is, obviously we've got the new edition coming out. By the sounds of it, they're not making any massive changes, which is a really good thing. Some of the mechanics that I always thought, and I never tended to use because I A, forgot, and B, it just slowed the game down, these things called special strikes. They're binning those off.
The dwarves go on a strike or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Yeah. We're not digging anymore. Why not? It's a fucking demon down there, and I haven't got a pension set up.
Yeah.
Frankly.
This is a special strike. Yeah, it's not just a normal strike. It's a special strike. But yeah, they kind of just binning off some of the mechanics that kind of slowed things down. I think added a bit of like rules bloat to it, so they're kind of streamlining it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And for the first time, they're adding in a new stat called intelligence. So one of the examples that they've used is like somebody with a higher intelligence might be able to perceive somebody who's got the one ring, because when you got put the one ring on, you go invisible. Right. If they've got higher intelligence, they might be able to perceive them. Whereas like an orc or a goblin or something might have lower intelligence, so might not be able to perceive. So it's the first time in since the beginning of the game they've actually added a new stat in, so that's going to be like really exciting. I don't know what impact it will actually have on the game, because the example that they gave is so niche, and I don't think I've ever actually had to come across that in the game. But I'm sure it'll be used for other things, and I'm hoping that once kind of the War of the Rohirrim stuff comes out, I'm hoping that anything that they've had planned for the last couple of years might start to sort of trickle through, but it'll be just rejigged a little bit with obviously new rules, new stats, and what have you. So I've got quite high hopes for the game going forward, really.
So you mentioned stock and capacity a few minutes ago. So I have in some of my random musings as a former stockist/stockist associate.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say who with, because Games Workshop do seemingly have a team that sit and watch these things with a pen and paper and go, cease and desist. But it's Lord of the Rings, so they might not care. They might just pass this up.
Yeah, exactly. They hate it.
They fucking hate it, man. But basically, I was having my initial welcome to the pyramid scheme phone call. I'm choosing my language very carefully in case.
I feel like I'm being intimidated by association.
No, you're good, man. You're good. Do they send you free stuff all the time?
No.
Cool. Fuck.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Free, is that even a thing? Does anybody get free stuff?
Yeah. Influencers get free stuff if they like you.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think they like me.
Kind of like an Apple thing.
Yeah, they don't like me. I know.
So that's fine. But on the initial welcome spiel was, if you've got any customers that are into Lord of the Rings, the majority, like this was at the time like 3 years ago, the majority of the Lord of the Rings stuff is on a made-to-order basis. So if you're on the main website and you see a little red icon in the corner of the picture of the model you're looking at, that means it's on made-to-order. This is going to be depressing for some people that want to support their local friendly game store. But basically, when you go into your local friendly game store and they stock Warhammer or Games Workshop stuff, the expectancy is that it's 20% off RRP.
Yeah.
People expect that, and that's fine. If you want to buy anything from them as a stockist, guess what the percentage is that you buy it at? Just throw a number out there. So the average now for Warhammer is 64%, which is a fucking horrific margin anyway.
Do you not buy it at, like, literally at the price that you buy it from direct from the website?
You buy it at 80%.
And then you sell it at 80%.
That 80% does not include tax.
Well, again, that's where so basically you're selling at the same. You have to sell at the same price.
You lose money.
Wow.
Which is incredible. And they said it to me over the phone as, that's a service you can provide to your loyal customers. And I said, no, can we just go back? And then they were like, hang on, no, I've got a fucking script. It goes one way, sir. What was the question? So I sell this at 20% off. Yes. I buy it at 20% off your RRP. Yes. Before tax. Yes, sir. So I lose before I've
Tax
even...
has in VAT at 20%.
Yeah.
So as soon as you put your hand on that box to open it, like, you've invested time into, like...
As soon as you click buy and you've spent like 30 minutes actually ordering over the phone like it's 1972, or if you've got a member of staff that's doing it on an hourly rate, you're fucking 15 quid down before the bastard turns
Well, yeah, I mean, not to go all, like, Zach Galifianakis maths around that kind of thing here, but, like, if you're paying 80% of RRP plus VAT to buy them, that's 96% of the full cost. And then you have the opportunity to sell it at 80%, including cost. So you'll take a 16% hit on everyone that you sell.
Yeah.
And the issue is that they're doing that because they know that your customers expect a discount buying from you.
Yes.
And so if you put it up to try and make a profit, they'll just blame you.
They'll lose interest.
They'll lose interest, and they may as well just go directly to them.
Yes.
Wow. Scumbags.
So, yeah, which is it's just so anti-friendly local game store, and it's very anti-Lord of the Rings Middle-earth Strategic Battle Operations Simulator friendly. It's
so I can see why you think Games Workshop hate it.
It was just such a weird conversation to have, and then we moved on to talking about what you're doing on Sunday. And like, hang on a minute.
So that's about that
part script as well.
That's Lord of the Rings thing, is it? But that's anything that's made to order.
Anything that's made to order, which is at the minute I think it's 90% of this stuff.
Sure.
So they do like what they call like a made to order run. So like things that they've made in the past that they no longer make.
Sure. They could press a sprue if they needed to.
Yeah. So they have like maybe 5 or 6 things that they'll say, right, this is made to order. But then it's like 180 working days or something until it gets potentially delivered. Like normally it's there a little bit quicker than that, but like sometimes it is like
180 days.
Yeah,
I blacked out for a second.
Yeah, 180 days.
That's in half a year.
So I think they
like fucking plumbers, aren't they? I'd say 180 days to turn up that good junk. Oh, fuck have you done? Oh, amazing. Put it in the bin. Yeah.
But yeah, 180 days. So I think they just obviously like find a bit of downtime in production and just chuck it through the machine and.
There are other models from the mainline franchises that have that stipulation, but they're stuff that is usually metal or resin, or doesn't sell very well, or doesn't sell as well. But I did some calculations, and you know I'm good with calculations, mate. Yeah. I can.
This whole video is just going to be covered in all them spinning maths. And
Yeah. Well, when you throw Kurt Angle in the mix, you know, it's,
your chances do drastically go down.
Yes, I did some calculations, and if you buy 3,000 of every model in the Lord of the Rings Middle-earth Strategic Battle Operations Simulator from Element Games, you will bankrupt Element Games.
Because they lose
money
60% on every one of them.
God.
Yeah.
Because they sell
because they're automatically.
Or do they sell them at RRP?
Yeah, but it's the Outpost. I think they sell them at a bit of a discount.
Yeah, so like the Outpost Goblin game in Wayland Games. Nobody do this, please. We like Wayland.
Yeah.
Wayland.
Not official advice.
Yes. I originally worked it out with the Mummock elephant kits, and I was like, well, if you buy 32,000 War Mummocks, you can bankrupt Wayland Games. It's fucking insane. Obviously, no one's ever going to do that.
No. Who's got the money for 32,000 of anything?
How much money have you guys got? Like, not enough for 32,000 Mummocks.
No, if this video gets 100 million views, we will bankrupt a small gaming shop.
Yeah, 6 weeks time, Goblin Gaming just put out a tweet that says, well, it's been fun, guys, and just a massive warehouse.
Because I love the idea that it's like they're having to automatically fulfill these orders. So they get them into the website, go straight off to Games Workshop. They turn around to Games Workshop and go, if we do this, we'll bankrupt ourselves. And they go, okay.
Okay.
Good for you.
Good for you. So it was just an interesting observation at the time. And as our friend Scott Steiner says, the numbers don't lie, Kurt Angle. So it was just a weird one, and that's another thing on the pile. And I've done my friend who I still do work at that stockist with, not a stockist anymore. He was trying to get his head around it, and he's a big wrestling fan. Jesus! And so I used a wrestling analogy, as I often do in my videos. And basically I said, Lord of the Rings is not a Vince McMahon guy.
Yes.
So Lord of the Rings is that wrestler who is a mid-carder, came out, did something off script, and the fans fucking loved it. And it got over with the crowd. But management, Mr. McMahon, refuses to get behind that.
Yeah, right.
And keeps trying to do the thing that he wants.
Right. Yeah.
So
he doesn't care because it wasn't his idea to make a big deal.
That's essentially it. Yeah.
I like that, because when you first started saying it, I was like...
I was like...
I had no idea what
it was like, you're trying to explain Warhammer to me using a wrestling analogy. It's like, that's a rock and a hard place situation for me.
That's a stiff bump, isn't it, mate? Yes, it is, yeah. So it's kind of... The classic example is a wrestler called Rusev, who was a basically unintelligible Bulgarian wrestler who was initially a Russian character with a Bulgarian flag on his shoulder, but whatever. And he really got over with the crowd when he started going off book a bit, and everyone started chanting Rusev Day. And Vince was like, "No, you're a bad guy."
Even I remember Rusev.
You remember Rusev Day? Yeah.
Rusev Day, yeah.
You're a bad guy. Be a bad guy. And they kept trying to make him a bad guy. And even when he's fighting a good guy, everyone's chanting Rusev Day. And it's like, okay, right, this is clearly your fault. Have some shit storylines. Your wife's cheating on you. Okay. Okay. What else can we do? You're pregnant.
Were these real storylines? Or like...
But that's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
From that perspective, is Lord of the Rings is not a Vince McMahon guy.
Well, there's a little bit of like, Lord of the Rings doesn't need Games Workshop's clout.
Neither did Rusev, mate. You know.
Well, no, this is the point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, Games Workshop, as I understand it, they like to think of themselves as the absolute undisputed king of the hill in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you want to have a successful tabletop game, you better go through us. And even though they're making Lord of the Rings, they're not selling it because it's them. They're selling it because it's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that rubs somebody up the wrong way.
I think, like, everybody loves to like criticize Games Workshop.
Of course, yeah.
And I think it's very easy as like an outsider to criticize.
They kicked his brother's dog, mate.
They did.
Well,
My family's contrast paint recipe.
Yeah,
it's not to be forgotten.
To be forgotten. I can understand why you personally have some beef with Games Workshop.
Yes.
But I think a lot of other people, there's kind of a lot of negativity and things about it. Like we might not necessarily understand why they do things in a certain way. Like people. Business going to biz. You know what I mean? Like there is going to be a reason why they do things a certain way, and it's probably there is reasons around it with Lord of the Rings, and I can't imagine what those reasons might be. With your specific example of
it's baffling.
It is baffling, but I'm sure there is some sort of reason.
It's always money. It's always money, right? At the end of the day, it's always money. It's just like the closest analogy I've got to like Games Workshop would be like Marvel. Right?
Yeah.
Marvel and Disney and the way that they handle their properties. Sometimes they're just grinding out money. Sometimes they're doing something for the artistic element of it whatsoever. But like, so many decisions come out of that, and you're like, how did that get this far?
Yeah.
But when you're working with a company with hundreds, thousands of people who have all got their fingers in these pies, and you're dealing with different licensees, and if we do this, we got to pay this much, and if we do this, we do this, and we can't really do the thing we want to do for these reasons. And then they're like, wait, why are we even trying to do this?
I think you go in kind of with one vision, and then you come out with something completely different. Do you know what I mean? So
I think it'd be quite easy to go through that process and come out with something at the end that people won't like.
Yeah.
And then you end up having to scrap that and start again. I'm sure those things happen all the time.
And I think, there's there's a lot of like old school people in Games Workshop as well, I'm sure. You know, that kind of, you know, got the reins pretty tight and things, and you know, I think, you know, potentially they're kind of a little bit. Try not to be rude here, but I think
to please everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a near impossible route.
But I think, you know, there will be people there that kind of want things done a certain way, or, you know, certain things released and certain things not released because they like it or whatever. So yeah, you know, as I say, you know, you don't necessarily know what goes on behind closed doors. I'm sure there's reasons for everything, mostly monetary.
Sue us. We didn't mean it.
Yeah,
I did.
Please send me free stuff.
So you were alluding a lot earlier to there being some kind of an issue with this new set.
I don't think there's going to be any problems with it whatsoever. I think actually it's going to be. I think because I don't necessarily know them personally, but I know of the rule writers and things. Kind of, so I've got faith in them.
Yeah, I've got good intentions.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know. It will be interesting to see kind of what gets taken out, because it does sound like they are streamlining things. I think the one thing that has got people kind of a bit worried at the moment is they're going to put some models into Legends, so that means that they're kind of going to not necessarily bin them off, but they'll no longer have rules that are kind of updated and supported and things like that. So if you want to go, you know, some tournaments they might still say, this is a Legends tournament, so you can play anything you want. But I think things that will go are like the crazy Games Workshop inventions, the things that might not necessarily fit in with what the IP kind of wants them to. You know, I think it might be stuff that has rules but doesn't necessarily have models yet, because there are quite a few models that I like that there. But I think, you know, the vast majority of the range is going to stay exactly as it is, and obviously getting new plastic models, you know, and what. If it's a new starter set, hopefully there should be a couple of characters, a couple of different troop types in there. You know, all new plastics.
Bit of terrain, mate.
Bit of terrain as well. Yeah. Cannot ask for any more than that, really.
Will it be the case once this new starter set comes out, then, that you can't use the old stuff?
Can play it. You know, that's the thing. It never goes away.
Never goes away.
And you know, I've got that. It was when I heard that there was a. I heard on the grapevine a while ago that there was a new edition potentially going to be coming on its way. You know, I was a bit worried that there would be like a whole scale sort of change and things, and I was a bit worried. No, not worried, but I was a bit like, that'll suck if it's not the same as the game that it's always been and things like that. But then I was just thinking, like, actually, the vast majority of games that I play are against like my mates on my kitchen table, and if that's the case, I'm just going to use all the models that I've still got, all the rule books that I've still got. Don't get me wrong, I will still buy all the new models and paint them, of course. But I'll probably still just play the existing edition of the game, because at the moment, I just don't have the mental bandwidth to learn a new game. Like, it's just too much like hard work. So yeah, it's.
But I suppose that's your prerogative.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, to just keep playing with whatever you want.
And that's the thing. People complain about new editions of 40k and things like that. Like, if you really like that edition, just keep playing that.
Yeah, just find someone else who also likes that edition. They must exist.
It's not the end of the world.
I've never understood why you couldn't just find a middle ground. Like, your stuff has gone into Legends, which means it's not supported in the mainline game anymore, but there's still rules that exist for it. And if you have an amicable friend, you can just say, can I use this as it was 3 weeks ago before the rules came out? It's a £70 model. I spent 9 years painting it. Is that chill? If they say no,
you've probably got to find a new buddy.
Your friend can get fucked.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's just those kind of like the social contracts, is it? But like, you know, you kind of have that discussion with your gaming group or somebody, and say, let's meet up for a game. Would you mind playing the old edition? Like,
You're going to gradually transition, aren't you? But there's no like real pressure to, as of Monday, you've got to throw away half your models. And...
No, exactly. You know, the people are worried about kind of models going to Legends. Like, it's not as though the models are going to just like crumble into dust, like you know, like going to like Marv, you know, like Thanos out of existence. So yeah, you know, it makes no real difference really to the vast majority.
Not really. I mean, when Osgiliath came out around that time, I'd picked this up as well. And my friend James was over, and there is a Lord of the Rings board over there somewhere that I have played 2 games on. No, 3 games if you count the how many children can take down Sauron round we did. But I had the big book, and I was like, that is some words and pages, isn't it, James? And he said, that is some words and pages, Dave. And then we got the first edition out from 2001. like, this is less pages.
Yeah.
And we just played the 2001 version with some new models, some old models.
Literally, you wouldn't have been far off.
Yeah.
Like,
it just didn't matter in that moment, especially when it's Sauron versus everything else that's painted.
yeah.
Sauron won.
Were you doing I can't remember what it calls, like tremendous blow or something, where he just like kind of hits everything in combat.
He just spins his mace around.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, you've got elves fucking rolling down the little hills that I made and stuff as you knock them over. Go on, Frodo's going in for it. Oh, no, he's not. No, okay.
He was going in for it.
Sauron, man, leave him alone. He's already dead, man.
So, in conclusion,
Do they hate it? Do they hate it?
do they hate it? Do Games Workshop hate it? No, I mean, it sounds to me like it's still a fairly thriving community in terms of like, and also something that if you're into this and you've got friends who are on the fringes or who might be interested and who like Lord of the Rings, a nice, easy way to get them in, and something that's still kind of relevant and active, which is super interesting, super fun. So you can still buy these, but the new ones, basically.
Yeah, so these are... Yeah, so there is like a current base set and stuff like that. Have you got the skill?
Oh, fucking probably.
It's probably... So, well, you've got everything else in here.
It is in here somewhere. It's probably behind that third copy of Mordheim.
And the 18th copy of Space Crusade.
Yeah. It's 8, actually.
8, actually, all right. Sorry, I thought you said 18. No. They didn't put it past you either. Like. But yeah, so that's like the current like starter set. But like the models from this set are still being made, and that's kind of one. That is one frustration for people. I think because people still buy them, Games Workshop still make it. Do you know what I mean? Like, why change it?
If it ain't, I have got one.
Yeah.
Oh, he's off.
That's all right. I didn't even want to see it or anything.
Yeah, hopefully. Oh, that's a box of 500 zombies hitting the floor again. That's what your time. Sorry, Colin. I've still got your zombies. So, for example, I think the majority of those models are like 23 years old at this point. Would you say, Benji?
Yeah. So the Witch King's new, 2003.
Which king was that, mate?
That's good. I like that one.
Good, isn't it?
The Orcs. These are the horrible ones that I've painted a lot of. They're 2003. I think the Wargs are maybe like 2005 because they made some metal ones before that, but then obviously they wanted kind of them to be slightly more widely available.
To me, haven't dated.
I think they're fine. Like if you compare them to like modern plastics, they've got a long way to go. But they're not terrible.
No,
they're not terrible.
If I can get them for 25 pence each in a grovel bin, in an old game shop,
exactly. And that's the thing, because like the starter kits had like 2 sprues on them, because like everybody who had the magazines had 2 sprues on them. Like everybody had loads of them. So if you go on eBay now, you could pick them up for next to nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Or a guy with broken spears.
Yeah, exactly.
A Lego size box.
Yeah.
Of broken stuff for like £5. Yeah.
Easy fixed as well.
Yeah. So, most important question. What's your favourite Lord of the Rings film?
My favourite Lord of the Rings film?
Yes.
Don't
say the 70s one, you fucking edge bloke.
No,
the Banshee version.
I like Lord of the Rings, but I'm not that crazy of a Lord of the Rings guy.
Not, mate.
No.
You heard Harry Potter.
Don't out me on this podcast, but sure, definitely. Fine. No, Harry Potter and Star Wars more than Lord of the Rings.
Fair.
But I like the Lord of the Rings. I've seen the extended editions many times.
Which is a commitment.
Yeah, I'm not sleeping on it. But yeah, I probably, if I was going to sit down to just watch one of them, I'd probably watch the first one.
I
Think
I've probably watched Return of the King more, but that's because I got a DVD player when shows how like long after it came out. But I got a DVD player, but I got the Return of the King DVD, the extended edition, and I watched that literally. I had about 3 DVDs or something. I just watched that,
and 3 of them were the Return of the King, probably.
3 copies of it. Yeah, just watched that kind of on repeat. So I'll probably watch that one more.
Yeah,
but yeah, Fellowship, it's just.
Yeah, it's just
beautiful, isn't it?
It's just lovely. Just that Shire theme just gets me up in the morning sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do have a real bee in my bonnet, just to be completely off topic and say an unpopular opinion. I really hate that even now the movies are on 2 discs.
Yes.
Because you can fit 4 hours of content on a Blu-ray, and I bought the extended edition Blu-rays, and they still put it onto discs.
It ruins that immersion, doesn't it? Like, when you have to go and get up, change the disc.
Yeah, because it's like if you're watching in a room full of weak people, they see that intermission come up, and then I want it just for me to piss off for 20 minutes. And it's like, no. We're powering through. We've got 3 of these to get through. There's only 24 hours in a day. Sit down.
And we're only in fellowship.
100%. If you're already needed to stand up after 2 hours, then this marathon's not for you.
We can't be friends anymore.
Yeah. So we're starting The Hobbit tomorrow.
We'll move on to our show and tell thing, which we're hopefully going to do.
We're going to do it every week. As you know, every week we do this. It's a staple.
Every time we do a video. Yeah. And we basically find something at the very last minute that we think is cool, like a shiny rock.
Yeah.
We bring that in.
I almost brought a rock with me.
And you said you were going to bring
genuinely,
a rock.
I've got a rock collection from when I was a kid that I just can't get rid of.
Yeah.
So I almost brought one.
You almost brought a whole rock collection just to leave it here amongst the more times around the room.
No more rock collection.
Yeah. Every he's like, oh, has this one got a metal bottle? I open it. Oh, it's just one of Benji's fucking rocks in it again.
This case sounds good. Oh, just rocks again.
So we bring something exciting every time, even if it's a rock and you're excited about it.
I didn't know it had to be exciting.
If it's something that excites you, I know you got something last minute, so that's fine. And Benji didn't bring his rock, so he's not going to care about what he's got.
No.
So I'm going to go first. Actually, I'm going to go first.
Show us how it's done.
I have brought.
Oh yeah,
the Lord of the Rings trading card game.
Oh my god. I didn't even know such a thing existed.
Fucking result.
Was it Lord of the Rings that you... No, that was... You handed out packs of the Star Trek Deep Space Nine trading card game at your wedding.
Which is made by the same people. Yeah, as party favours, yeah.
That's fine. This was pretty... I'm sure... Were there not some Lord of the Ringses meshed?
It's Final Fantasy.
Is it Final Fantasy?
For the real dweebs.
Yeah. You've been trying to get me to play this for a while.
I've been trying to read the rules for a while. I'm trying to get my dad to explain it to me.
Is it impossibly complicated?
No, not at all.
All right.
It's just time. So this is by Decipher Games. It came out with around the same time as this. Came with a really fucking cool CD-ROM that let you learn how to play.
I got the One Ring.
You got the One Ring. Respect. One ring. Where's that boy that bought the wrong ring? The One Ring.
The One Ring.
The One Ring. There he is.
There he is.
That's the boy you're looking for. Frauders.
See, if they were the Magic the Gathering ones, that would be 8 million quid right there.
Could retire.
Yeah.
That would actually be very funny.
And then you could...
To list that on eBay, and let's call it just like One Ring card.
Yeah.
£100.
If you had 8 million, you could bankrupt.
I could bankrupt Goblin Gaming, yeah. 8 million war mummies, please.
So what's exciting about this then?
Fuck off. So it came out around the same time as this. It's by Decipher that made the Star Wars game, the Star Trek game. They also made some shit. But this is not shit. So this is basically, I think it went all the way up to like 2009, getting releases before the company basically went under. And again, they ended up making some of their own stuff and background characters and production stills they used to make new characters. And it is one of the more interesting Magic clones because you play good guys and bad guys at the same time. You have a Twilight phase where you play as your Fellowship, moving through locations from the film. Then you have a Shadow phase where you play the bad guys, the Sarumans, the Saurons, and you're trying to take out your opponent's Fellowship, and they do vice versa.
Right. So you both have a Fellowship,
and you both have bad guys.
It's like American football.
So you can you can make a Fellowship of like anybody, or is it like do you have to have like? Is it the actual Fellowship?
Yeah, you make a Fellowship with anyone.
Oh right, okay, like a fantasy Fellowship then.
Yeah, essentially, it's like fantasy football, Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Was this a traditional card game in that like you had to collect them?
Starter decks
get
and
booster
boosters.
packs and things like that, so you weren't guaranteed to have a Frodo and a One Ring.
The starter sets always came with one, or another ring bearer. I think there were other ones, so Gollum could be a ring bearer, for example.
I really like this. Is the kind of thing that only I notice. Mm-hmm. The Boromir card, they've had to squash the aspect ratio to fit him and his dagger in there, so he's got like quite a thin, gaunt face.
Yes, they've squished it.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Beautiful.
Love that.
And like a lot of Decipher games, the the battlefield that you have is mapped out with cards, which is an interesting thing. So nowadays it's kind of a standard fare to have a front bench and a back bench, and a damage zone, essentially. Kind of basically just magic. Mana and attackers. This thing it comes with, I didn't bring it with me, but it has a fold-out map thing, and your locations from the films are down the left, and you slowly move up those as you progress. You've got a bench there, you've got a resource pool there, you've got reserves, you've got towns, villages, and your opponent has the same thing. And your cards essentially map out the world to a degree, and formations and things. And they did that with the Star Trek one. They had like space timelines and solar systems and things like that, and portholes and wormholes. So yeah, they really leaned into the make the game look interesting and play interesting. So
were there like you said it was started with from 2000
locations like these?
Yes, yeah.
From 2003 to 2009, did you say?
I think 2001 to 2009 it went. Yeah.
Did they sort of like have new editions of it? Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they'd have different themes, which is something Decipher do, is they will start with the basics that everyone knows.
Yeah.
And then expand it into different regions or different themes. And they always do a reflections set quite late on in the game's life, where they will do a bit of photoshopping or pull some alternate artwork, and you'll have Gandalf the Blue or something like that.
Okay.
Or they switch it around, you'll have super bad guy Sauron. And it's just a background elf, but he's now Sauron.
Just that man from Rings of Power.
Just that man, but who's it gonna be? Who is it?
Impossible to know.
Who's it gonna be? I can't tell. So
there were no shiny cards in there though, which has upset me.
No, I took a painful amount of time to rebuild the starter decks as they're supposed to be. So I know how this plays. So there's no shinies. I do have
shinies do exist
in a folder or something.
They're in a pile. They'll be in a folder. I've got a shiny One Ring, which is nice.
I was going to say, Dave doesn't really do organised things.
No.
Organised to me.
Lovely.
Nice.
Yeah. Good. And themed. And now I'm feeling like I really should have themed mine, because I know that yours is themed.
Mine is themed.
You may as well go next, and I'll finish.
Well, actually, you know what? You can go next.
Okay, yeah. I'll go next.
Harry Potter, what you brought with you, mate?
My fucking Harry Potter ass has brought Pikachu with me. So we were discussing, carrying on from last time, about my general history or lack thereof in this entire thing. And I realised we were talking about my Metal Gear Rex that I love as being the first model that I made, but actually it was the first model that I made.
The Bandai Pikachu.
That you brought back from Japan, a Bandai Pikachu whose head comes off, because I haven't glued him. I haven't glued him together, his head and tail come off. But yeah, this was very cute to assemble. He came and he was all like clip off the thing, like proper.
Oh, wow.
Proper like.
And pre-painted.
Style. Yeah. I mean, have a feel his head.
It's basically a good.
It's yellow plastic. I think it's not even painted. I think it was molded like that. But and then you had the brown plastic bits that you had to put in there to make these. And then a couple of stickers. I think the pupils and the tongue.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's very cute.
Have you never done a Bandai kit before?
No.
Let's fucking fix that.
But yeah, so he's very cute. He's very cute, and he lives on my desk.
Did I bring you that back from Japan?
You did.
Yeah.
You did bring me this one back from Japan, and you got one for my partner as well.
Yeah, because that one was meant to be for her.
Yes, and then I was like, actually, no, I am Pikachu.
Yeah. So I went out and bought her another one at white people prices, which really fucking stung compared to that.
I bet it did.
Yeah, you were like, these are for you and Kerry, and you gave me like one regular Gundam-looking dude and one Pikachu, and I was like, oh, Pikachu for me. You shouldn't have.
In Japan, I know my shopping basket, like, yeah, fuck it, yeah, all that shit, yeah. Exactly. And then I go to Trolling Man in York, and I'm like,
£45. Open up these crates.
Open up these Pikachus.
Yeah, so yeah, he's very cute, and this is technically my baby's first Gundam that I built.
Your first baby's Gundam.
My baby's first.
Yeah, not the one that your baby made.
No, I don't have one of those.
No, just checking.
I'm sure if I did, he could probably have put this together.
Yeah, your cat probably could.
Because there aren't really even any little bits. He was quite,
chunker,
super cool. Nice. So I like him a lot.
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings themed.
Absolutely, yeah. It was my favourite part of the film.
when Pikachu turns out.
When Pikachu turns up and said, "Let's ring some lords," and electrocutes a load of Urukai.
That is exactly it. Yeah.
And then all the Urukai are just covered in bomb ash with little squiggles above the reds going,
To be fair, they are making a proper anime, so it's like 50-50, because I think it's a legal requirement that Pikachu turn up if it was made in Japan.
That's how animes work, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Saruman blasting off again.
Yeah.
Saruman, capture me that Pikachu. Well, now this needs to happen.
Yeah.
You said you can do what you want with this, basically, so we're going to go and print out some Pikachus and...
Yeah. Is there a Pokemon miniatures game?
There could be.
There should be. 3D printing, exists. So
It does.
do that.
Yeah.
make
Okay.
it happen.
Okay, let's happen. Let's happen.
Let's happen.
All we've got to do is acquire the rights to Pokemon. Lord of the Rings.
That can't be difficult, can it?
No,
Like,
absolutely. And it clearly never causes any problems either, as we've discussed.
No.
the crossover nobody asked for.
But
But
everyone
if you
wanted.
want the crossover, let us know.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll
and
do
that's
it.
a guarantee.
Brilliant. So what have you brought for
So
us?
I have brought a vintage box because I thought Dave would like this.
Yeah.
I'm also I've been not pointing it out as we go.
So this is it won't be in focus probably, will it?
Maybe.
Maybe. This is the Balrog Encounter at Khazad-dûm box by Citadel Miniatures, but I think this is from 1985.
It'll be 85.
85, yeah.
Because they did a fellowship and some other stuff as well.
Yeah, so I've been gradually over the last few years obviously I've collected all the rest of the Lord of the Rings models, so
Hoarding.
why not buy all the 1980s stuff as well? So I've been picking them up gradually, and then this came up on eBay a while ago, and it was just it was probably a bit more than I would have liked to have spent on models from the 1980s, but then I saw it, I was like,
How much was it?
109, I think I paid for it.
I think that's all right. Is it unpainted?
Yeah,
Do you
it's
mind?
unpainted. No, go for it.
Because I'm wary because the box is actually in such nice condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's if the box had been battered and things, I probably wouldn't have bought it for that much. But
There's barely even any corner scuffing or anything.
that's probably just happened in my bag on the way here. It was pristine. Before that. But yeah, it's
the artwork.
yeah, it's and like the models. I have a look at the models inside, and they're proper 80s models. Aren't
Open
they?
it.
They're
Open it.
Do you want to have a look?
Open these crates.
I'd love to, yeah.
Open. Look at it. That's the most aggressive opening of a box I've ever seen.
Well, I feel like
With true polystyrene as well.
Oh, that sound. Where's the rest of it?
I've taken the
I don't think it's lead, is it?
no.
It's a
I
shame.
think you'd be all right.
Is there a chance it was lead?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, it's got a prepaid envelope reply service.
What can we ask for from Games Workshop? Game purchased. I'll do a guy and send that back. GW.
To be fair, it's same address probably.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not. This is Chewton Street, Hilltop, Eastwood.
So, not to throw an additional spanner in the works, Citadel Miniatures is not Games Workshop.
Well,
All the same.
it's all the same. I think the names are different, probably for the reason that all names are different, and that is the old TAX, mate.
TAXs, yeah. The old His Majesty's Revenues.
Ah, we don't own Forge World. It is our friends.
Metal models, never heard of them.
Resin?
Get out of here. We only deal in God's finest plastic.
Fuck me, that is lovely.
It is, isn't it?
Holy shit.
So yeah, I do intend to paint these at some point when I've got the courage to do it.
Goromir? Who's Goromir? No, it's Boromir.
1987 it says on that one. But I think the range started probably 1985,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
So this is actually a perfect example for you, mate. We were talking about heroic scale last time.
Yes.
So this is heroic scale, and this is true scale. So the difference is they're ballpark the same size, but you can see how the face and the hands are different and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to make this guy work.
Yeah, scary.
He's super
Scary dude.
Super cool. Lots of detail on there. Big veiny arm muscles. Look at that.
Yeah.
He's got a pump on, hasn't he?
He's got a pump on, mate. Really nicely done.
Okay.
The Strider does look like an anime vampire.
He does. The face is very. I think that was obviously at the time they had
Yeah.
it was all flat flat casts, wasn't it? So
incredible characters on there.
He's got a smile on his face and an itty bitty waist. This guy.
yeah.
Oh wow.
So like, personally, I think this looks cooler.
Yes.
I think the real scale looks better than the heroic scale.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's like a very aesthetic choice.
It's an aesthetic choice. I mean, you got to
It almost
factor in
looks
those.
like a Hobbit because of the way the scale works. Quite funny.
That's lovely.
Love it.
Will there be a video on it?
When I eventually paint it, yes, there will be. But as I say, I'm kind of terrified of painting it because it's old, but then it's metal. Can just strip it.
You could just do it with an hammer. The paint will come off.
Yeah.
Or buy another one.
Yeah, just throw money at more old boxes.
The best part is if you paint it and you mess it up, you can just put the box on the shelf with it ruined inside.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tell people you've never opened it.
Pro painted, mate.
And I'll just sell it. It's like I'll stick some cellophane around it.
Yeah, exactly. Brand new in wrapper.
Yeah.
And you just like make sure that they're not going to open it when they get it,
and make sure that they're not going to watch this.
No, exactly. Or you could just fill it with your rocks.
Yes.
Well, that's like metal miniatures, man.
I'll get it sealed by PSA or something like that, and then they'll never bother opening it. Perfect. Weigh some rocks out, but then that would mean me giving up some of my rocks.
I know.
That'd be a difficult thing.
There's an idea there isn't there? It's perfect. Yeah. I mean,
People have been defrauding Amazon that way for some time.
if you can bring your rocks over, I have got an empty Mordheim box.
Well, that's very cool. I think if it was a competition, you win.
Thanks.
Congrats.
Thanks. I mean, your stuff was cool as well, and your Pikachu is cool. So it has a story behind it, and
that is
we laughed, we cried.
We did. We did.
So, like with always in the future, but never previously, we have got some questions from the Patreon community. We are in, unfortunately, a little bit of a rush, so some of the bigger ones, we might have to trim those down a bit, but I think when we did your intro, we answered about half of these.
Oh, amazing.
There's people checking in, seeing you all right.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm all good.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
There's
I'm fine. Nothing
Better than Dave, apparently.
Yeah.
Probably on par. Like.
Chris W was replying to your update video you did about 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
Which basically they say it's not a question. They're glad you're doing okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm really well. Yeah, thank you.
And that you are supported and you are not alone.
Oh,
which is a bit lovely, isn't it?
It is nice. Do you know what? I put that video on, and I thought, like, not many people, like, it was more of an update to the people that, like, I thought would be interested in it. But, like, the outpouring of, like, love and things, that was just amazing. Like, the number of people that kind of sent me messages on, like, Instagram or, Facebook or whatever after that was just absolutely lovely. And, like, yeah, I am absolutely fine and things. But obviously you just go... Yeah, I had a bit of a wobble, and I can't really complain about the health conditions that I've got. It's not really not the end of the world. But at the time, it kind of like there was the unknowns, and then kind of once it was down, it's just like livable with this. Do you know what I mean?
It's all right,
yeah. It's not bad. It's not too.
It's nice to realise. I think in this space, people put so much pressure on themselves to get things out, and then the moment you kind of acknowledge that and accept it, and you realise that the people on the other end of this are people as well,
exactly,
and they understand that maybe I need a minute,
and
that
I
can
think
be really liberating.
I think as somebody who kind of watches content and things as well, like if somebody doesn't, if somebody that you've been kind of following and things, fairly, they're posting kind of at least sort of every 2-3 weeks and like that, and all of a sudden it kind of really drops off. You're like, what happened to them? Did they go to prison? Like, it's not my first question. It's like, did they go to prison? Or are they all right? So but it's really nice that people were checking in. We really appreciate it.
Knowing Benji's love of LOTR and Tolkien, does he think that the source material gives enough scope for miniature wargamers and YouTubers to only create miniature scenarios and battles from it, or do you think it will always be needed to be expanded upon from an imaginary way to keep it fresh and funky, to quote Tony?
This would be like an entire video that I could talk about.
I'm sorry, Alex.
Not a 2-hour video, but like
just say yes or
but
no.
I think the biggest problem with any intellectual property, where there is a finite amount of stuff, is you are going to get to the end of that. And I think things like X-Wing really kind of suffer from that. To begin with, you had all the X-Wings, you had the TIE fighters, you had all the ships that everybody knew. All of a sudden, they end up getting to like whatever. I don't even know.
But you've got to have
ships
built your thing up enough that people want people like that to attach things to it, and they're not as bothered about the source material, because you're not just going to get someone to buy something that you've made up completely.
Yeah,
they're not invested in the
and I think Games Workshop have done a really good job of there's a lot of, especially on the good side, there's a lot of named characters and things like that, whereas on the evil side that nobody really kind of talks about the evil dudes, so they've had to make up like orc heroes and stuff like that to kind of flesh it out a little bit, and I'm sure with every book that they released, I'm sure there's a percentage of them that have to be kind of named people from the books, and a percentage that they can kind of name. So I think, will it get to a point where they struggle to kind of make anything new? Probably. But I think that's just something that any war game that is based on an intellectual property will suffer from.
What is your favourite miniature outside of like the mainline manufacturers and games?
Oh, so what? So outside of Games Workshop?
Yeah, just something a little bit niche.
Oh God, that's a big question.
Is it something thirsty from Kingdom Death, mate?
Well, no, big titties. No, it wouldn't be anything like that.
Okay, Mr. High.
I knew exactly what you're on about, but that's.
This Balrog got a dick, so I don't know.
And this isn't a Games Workshop miniature.
It's Citadel miniature, so
Actually,
I think I'll find. It sort of is. That's a really tough one. I tell you what miniatures I am loving at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep myself because I can't remember what the game is called. It's made by Free League Publishing. It's based on like mutants.
Yeah.
But all the models in it look like 80s cartoon characters, like villains from and it's quite like it's a recent game. But like I saw the models, I was like,
it's not Crooked Dice, is it?
No.
Okay.
But I was like, I need to pick up those models because they look like like the mutants, but half people, half animal mutant type things. And there's like one moose dude. There's like, but there's also some like roboty type dudes as well. They just look so like cool. So I was like, I'm getting that game. Like I'll probably never play it, but
you'll get it.
But I've got it, and like, but yeah, those models are really cool. So I'm loving those at the moment.
What advice would you give to someone wanting to get into content creation based on the hobby? And what is the magical work-life? Okay, there is no magical work-life balance. But what one piece of advice would you give apart from don't do it? Because that's my advice.
So I think. Do what you love, and I think that's kind of where I got derailed a little bit. Is like you start
derailed.
You start kind of trying to do things that you think your audience wants to watch, rather than doing like not my favorite, but the best video that I've ever done, the highest view video that I've ever done, is like garbage that I just wanted to get out there. I wanted to get a video done, so I filmed it like dead quick. So it's not something I'm like proud of or anything, but now it's on like 350,000 views or something like that, and I'm just like and it's given me like a third of my like subscribers have come from that one video. And I don't want to keep doing that, but then YouTube kind of encourages you. It's like, oh, this video did well, make more like it, and
watch the little numbers tick up.
And then you kind of like you kind of fall into that trap, and I kind of found that I was working on stuff that I didn't want to do. So if you're going to do it, just make sure it's something that you're making videos on stuff that you want to make videos on. And I know it's easy to say, but don't focus on the numbers and things like that. You get so it really grinds you down at times. If a video doesn't do too well, you get all upset about it, and like you've invested 40, 50, 60, 80 hours into it, and you're just like, oh,
if you've invested a load of time, but you weren't interested in the thing in the first place, then obviously if it doesn't perform, you're going to be disappointed because you wasted that time. But doing the hobby anyway, if you were already going to be painting some models that you're interested in,
and that's exactly
make content about that.
And that's exactly it. So the stuff that I have been doing as more recently has been stuff like I want to get this painted for this art. It's like, how can I work a hook into how can I make a decent looking thumbnail out of what I've made, sort of thing.
But then if it doesn't perform, worst case scenario, you still painted and built the thing that you actually wanted to use.
Exactly. So that's kind of where my mind is at now, and that's the sort of content that I want to make going forward, really, is stuff that I want to be making, ideally. Obviously, if I get big sponsors and things like that, I'll make whatever they want. But yeah, money does definitely talk.
Yes. It's all about the numbers.
Yeah.
So this is from Marcus. I think we've already answered this across the course of the videos, but we can edit this out if you don't want to talk about it. Many Ewoks in our Ewok village. That's my Discord.
Yeah.
People in the community have felt the impact of an unwelcome diagnosis. Now 3 months after the Why I Nearly Quit episode video that you did, how do you feel about the decision to deliberately slow down content creation?
Fine. Absolutely fine with it. Like, it's still kind of on a bit of a go slow. I'd hoped to be making a little bit more, and I was on like I had a bit of a plan in place. Then went on holiday, finished editing the video just before I went on holiday, and it was the spiders video that I did most recently. Once I was on holiday, got found I'd been made redundant. Yeah. So that kind of like knocks a bit of the wind out of you a little bit. So I was kind of like all geared up to do stuff, and then that, and there's like again like unknowns and things, so that kind of did slow me down a little bit, but. Yeah, back on track now, and as I say, I filmed quite a lot of stuff over the last few weeks, which has been
Benji.
Yeah. So, but whilst I've got the time at the moment, we're filming stuff, and then kind of I'll slowly put it out over the next few months. Then really, so maybe every kind of 3 weeks or so, just get a video out. So
nice. Good stuff. Last question again, which I think we've already just answered with a different question. This is Dickhead. Backpack Boom Bap.
Boom Bap.
That's him. Backpack Boom Bap.
I love that guy.
How difficult is it to create successful videos without, like, from a statistical standpoint, without including the words Games Workshop or featuring a picture of a Space Marine in the thumbnail? And what would you like to do more videos of if you didn't have to feed the algorithm? I think we
kind of answered that. Yeah, like it's difficult though, isn't it? Like, you did an entire video on.
Well, you did a year of not doing anything Games Workshop, really.
Yeah,
I did.
But then how many times did Games Workshop or Warhammer enter your titles?
Yeah, my Stargrave video was like, how to build a Warhammer dropship. This isn't Warhammer. No, it's Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah. So yeah, it is tough, and I think for me, I've tried to stop feeding the algorithm quite as much. Like, if people want to watch it for what it is, then that's fine. Ultimately, though, if you don't put those keywords in, people aren't going to find it at all, are they? So that it kind of has to be there to some extent. But I care less about the numbers now, really, than I used to. So if a video gets 1,000 views, that's fine. I've got something cool out of it. Whereas if before I'd spent loads of time or,
God forbid, money
on stuff and it gets 1,000 views, then I'd be absolutely devastated. I care less about it now because I'm not trying to make it into a career anymore.
Good.
But that's when you get a career out of it, you see.
Yeah.
Don't try too hard.
Yeah.
Dave. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. As soon as you stop caring, then it's like, you're full-time YouTube now, Benji.
Yeah.
Go get him.
Yeah.
So, let us summarise.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Does Games Workshop hate Lord of the Rings?
Do they hate Lord of the Rings? Based on what I've heard today, I don't think so. Are they indifferent and see it as probably a bit of an obligation at this point? Probably.
Okay.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Really. I don't think they hate it. I think it's just a bit of an afterthought at the moment. I think... their main games clearly get more attention than it does. So, I don't think they hate it.
Okay. And I concur. I don't think they hate it. You've brought me around, gentlemen. I was very hardline Games Workshop hate this game, and it was affecting my life up until today. So Do
you feel some inner peace now?
As I said earlier, I don't really feel anything about anything anymore. It is lovely to see you again.
It is great to see you.
It has been.
This has been very pleasant.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Good. A wonderful first guest.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I was so privileged to be asked to go on this. I didn't even know it was happening. And then all of a sudden, we're doing this thing.
Benji, we're doing a chat show, mate. Come on.
Just come on. Yeah.
And we'll see you next time for something.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Lovely. Get back to painting.